When did you start playing Fortnite? Do you remember how it felt? How the grass looked? The sunset? The silence? It was a good feeling, right? So how did that turn into this? Pretty jarring, huh? As I'm recording this, Snoop Dogg, Ice Spice, and Eminem are all announced to be in Fortnite. This reminded me of how this once beloved game had turned from a new, fresh, simple game into a complicated mess full of collabs and new items. This made me think, what made the original game so good? Why did I enjoy playing when the game was so simple? What made so many people come back to the game over and over to keep playing when there was so much less content? To answer these questions, we need to go back. We need to understand how the game felt to us when we first started playing. Like when I started playing in Season 2 when the game was still relatively new. The first Battle Pass came out, there wasn't a Tilted Towers or Tomato Town. It felt like playing against people who had no idea what year it was. By this point, the game was still really simple. I was hopping on with friends every day after school and playing until our thumbs hurt from the joysticks. So, what does this mean for current day Fortnite? Well, when Season OG happened, the main reason people came back was for the old map. The new map had way too many big POIs and complicated spots like the jungle, and it was all cluttered. When you play on the OG map, there are a few spots to drop that are big, but the rest of the map had some small areas where only a few people dropped instead of 10 different tilted towers all over the map. My next point is the visual appeal of the game. If you watch gameplay of the game today, there are certain visual aspects of the game missing. One of the big ones is something called distance fog. In older seasons, Fortnite had a fog effect on objects that were farther away from you when you looked at them. This made the map feel gigantic compared to without any fog. The sky was also incredibly interesting with twisty and windy clouds all over the sky. The way shadows cast on the ground too was just different. Now the game looks flat and lifeless. It feels like playing a cartoony game that wants to look like Call of Duty because of how realistic modern Fortnite tries to be. With Chapter 6 being the next chapter of Fortnite, the game can't just go back to this complicated mess it's been for the past few years. They have to come back to simplicity and smaller maps, less ambition and more care. Luckily, Fortnite Chapter 1 is coming back in Chapter 6, which is good for the fan base. But that only hurts the game more when it comes to the developers. Let me explain why. When the game shows less players in the normal game modes, that makes Epic want to focus more on the child-friendly side of Fortnite, such as creative maps, festival, LEGO, and more. This means less focus gets put into Battle Royale, which has already been happening lately. If they bring Chapter 1 back, it will be like their get out of jail free card because they can just keep that up to keep the players coming back. There are some good sides to this though. It may allow the developers to understand what made original Fortnite so special. The simplicity, the maps, the visual appeal, etc. Maybe this will lead to them going back to their roots and main goals with Chapter 6, and we will have an actually fun, simple game again, like how Fortnite was back in its peak. Playing back then, I used to actually search up videos while playing to make sure I knew what I was doing, because I wasn't used to a battle royale like this. Building felt like it was just there, and everybody was horrible. Honestly, even though everyone else was bad, I still couldn't get a win for the life of me. I never got a win until about Season 5, which was a while after I first started. Fortnite also had its own look to the game. Anytime you would load into it, it would be a different time of the day, and they looked very unique and cartoony. When playing today, I feel like games go by in 5 minutes. Back then, the game felt like it took a whole hour to finish each round. Look at the old map. What do you see? Well, there's a few big spots to drop, but look closer. There's little spots everywhere. You can drop any place and there will be something there for you to loot up. You don't have to drop at these bigger spots and just die out right away. Sure, some people like that, but for the people who try to win, landing on these little spots were the best way to survive. For me, I used to always land at the racetrack that ended up becoming a big circuit track in Season 5. That spot usually had no one, but occasionally a few people would go. It had a lot of loot and was the best spot for me personally. Things like this made the game feel longer and made it so that you could probably remember each monumental moment that happened in the game. Fortnite's gameplay has also changed over time. Something I haven't talked about too much yet is the game's movement. Movement might be something you don't think about when thinking about old Fortnite, but old Fortnite's movement was definitely better. Sliding, mantling, tactical sprinting, the new slow walking are all changes that happen to the movement. Hell, even swimming counts too. All of these changes complicate the game and make it difficult for someone new to actually start playing and understand everything about the game. With old movements, the game would be much simpler and less complicated for players to understand. There was also a recent change in how guns work, aka gunplay. In Chapter 5, Epic changed the usual hit scan bullets to bullet drop. Just a quick explanation of how it differs is that hit scan makes the bullet travel and have an immediate effect without drop off. Drop off adds the effect of gravity onto the bullets, making you have to predict where the enemy will be for the bullets to hit, and factor in how gravity will affect the bullets. This was, in my opinion, one of the worst changes Epic has done in recent memory. It made the game feel almost too difficult to hit shots, especially with all of the new movement options. Hit scan was better for this in my opinion, and luckily they brought it back for a remix. Along with these changes, the building mechanic has changed. They made response time and delay something competitive players don't have to worry about, but did this help the game? Not really, because Fortnite's building had always been there as a tool to assist in winning games, not as the main gameplay mechanic of Fortnite, which is arguable. In my opinion, Epic should remove turbo building in order to lower the skill ceiling and allow the game to be even more simple. If not, they can add a mode that is in between build mode and zero build that removes turbo building. Then I think a lot of players will be happy. Fortnite's aesthetic is also a concern for this, as it reflects how Epic cares for the game. For example, Chapter 1 Season 2 had bright skies, light green grass, dark nights, dark shadows, and beautiful sunsets. Chapter 5 Season 4, on the other hand, just looked like a gray mess with ugly colors on the map. It was very jarring to the eyes and made a lot of people feel gross while playing, myself included. Now let's take Epic's effort and compare them in both times. In Chapter 1 Season 2, Epic was still trying to keep the game fresh and new without overcomplicating it. They weren't out for money or popularity, they just wanted to have a good game. This was the peak of Fortnite as well, so it reflects how Epic ran the game. Now, in Chapter 5 Season 4, it looked ugly and was very dull and not vibrant. Epic had just had a deal with Marvel to have another full Marvel Battle Pass, which came across as a blatant cash grab. This was very reflecting on how little the game was cared for in the aesthetic part of the season. Both of these examples show how Fortnite's aesthetic reflects Epic's care for the game. This leads to yet another issue with the current state of the game: the constant cash grab collabs Fortnite has with other IPs. There are so many now I can't even count them. In Chapter 1 there were only 2 Marvel collabs. 2. After Chapter 1 everything went downhill. We had a Star Wars collab in Chapter 2, then we had Deadpool, Aquaman, Superman, and way too many more. Epic's collabs sucked the life and care out of the game and turned Fortnite into a money cow for Epic to milk. Now I'm not saying they should stop collabs, because it's already kind of too late, but they should at least turn it down a notch with how much they are doing them. It's getting way out of hand, especially after having a second Marvel Battle Pass. Okay, so what should we take away after talking about this? What we should focus on is making sure Fortnite becomes more simple and less complicated before it's too late. Telling Epic our feedback should help with this and can make the game better and more fun to play. The key of Fortnite's early success was its simplicity, not its complicatedness. We can't confuse simplicity with blandness either. Currently, Fortnite is a bland, complicated mess. OG Fortnite was more simple and lively. It invited people to enjoy its atmosphere and aesthetic. Fortnite will eventually lose all of its players if we stay in this cycle of going to a new bland chapter, then once players are almost fully gone, bring back OG just for it to be bland again. But I digress. The big takeaway of this video is that Fortnite was simple, so that's what made it good. That's why people kept coming back. Thanks for watching.